Hi there, I'm Yen and I want to welcome you to my channel. So this is part one of a three-part series on helping teachers go from knowing nothing about distance learning to being able to create some content and kind of get comfortable with this kind of new space that you're in. So in this video, I'm just going to use some really simple equipment. I've recorded things using my iPhone and then having just a little clip-on mic that attaches to my iPhone, and I will have the link in Amazon for you to actually take a look at the mic. Now, I created this video as a way for you to see how you can put something together fairly quickly with just some of the equipment you have. So let's talk about the first myth. So myth one, right, is that distance learning is like face-to-face. And here's my no cat saying, nope, it's not. And there's a couple reasons for that. And understanding those reasons is actually going to help you plan instruction, okay? So the first reason is because there is a loss of physical presence. In addition to loss of physical presence, there is the loss of body language and social cues. You're reduced to this physical presence that is sitting on a screen. Any body language, any proximity, any like physical presence of you is no longer there. So your students can see you, but feeling your physical presence in the room can leave people kind of disconnected. Now, the third thing of why distance learning is different is that there is this technology piece. And those of you that have taught technology, you already know this, okay? But technology means you're increasing the cognitive load for kids to understand. When you're in a classroom, you can convey information in a way that kids can take in easily because they're used to that, right? They're used to being in a classroom. They're used to talking to people. You're seeing the difficulty of navigating technical space, right? You're having to learn brand new skills in order to convey the same kind of content and information. Now, this is the same for your kids. When your kids are accessing Zoom or doing things at home, understand that there is an extra cognitive load that goes with that. So when you're teaching, you've got to really lower your standards, lower your standards on what you actually expect kids to learn from you through this kind of instruction. It takes time for both sides to kind of get used to this new mode of communication. With those three things, with the lack of physical presence, the lack of social cues and context cues, and then this extra cognitive load, what you end up with is you can feel isolated and alone and overwhelmed. And I'm willing to bet a lot of teachers, a lot of family members, a lot of everybody with the social isolation, you're feeling that already. Understand that even though you're in a classroom digitally, there is a huge tendency for people to feel lonely. And actually, that's one of the biggest reasons why, when it comes to distance learning, you have to really facilitate relationships, okay? So the first thing I suggest that you do when you start going online with your classrooms is focus on rebuilding your community. Imagine it's almost like you took your classroom and you moved into a new house or you moved into a new space. Do you remember the first days of school where kids had to learn about routines? They had to learn how to communicate with each other. They learned your rules. They learned how to use the space. This is the same way all over again. And you have to take the time, even a week, even 2 weeks, to re-establish new social norms, re-establish those connections and rebuild your classroom. And before you kind of go, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? I'm going to help you. I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so first thing is, in the digital space, you have to be very deliberate about personalization. You're going to have kids that are not comfortable being on camera. You're going to have parents who are not comfortable with their kids being on camera. So give them alternatives to that. For example, you can have a kid hold up a sheet of paper with like their smiley face or something, or put an emote in front of their face of how they're feeling, and so that they don't have to show up on camera. You can even give them the option of saying, you know what, you can even turn your camera off or phone in, and ask your questions that way. So there's a couple ways of allowing your kids to represent themselves in the spaces that you're creating with this new digital platform. Allow them to share pieces of themselves. And in the bingo card that I talk about, it's about personalization. All right. Think about shoutouts is one thing that you can do. And what I mean by shoutouts is actually you can go through your whole class list and say things about people. Hey, Charlotte, I really enjoyed that picture you had of your dog. Or you can say, Marcy, I hope you had a really good day today and it's so good to see you here, right? Or you can say things like, hey, I just got this joke from Jake and I want to share it with everybody. Please make sure you're including your student voices, and you do that by mentioning their names, talking about their contributions, and really adding into the presentation that you're giving, okay? In addition to shout outs, invite sharing. Okay, and this is what I mean by inviting sharing. You can have kids in Zoom, and I'll show you how. I'm going to make little technical videos on this, to do smiley faces on the screen, to use the whiteboard feature and, say pick an icon or an emote that represents how you're feeling right now. Invite them to take pictures of things. Invite them to, just share, what they're doing. So we talked about shout outs and, sharing and reaching out. The other thing is inviting involvement. And when I talk about inviting involvement, I'm not talking about inviting involvement of just your students, because you have to, realize that they're now in a space where it's not just them. It's parents, it's adults, it's siblings, it's pets, it's everything. So devising ways to get parents involved in your lessons is going to be super important with this working, okay? Personalization. Kids may not be online at the same times you are. They're in a different space. They're in a different reference of time. They're in a different schedule. All of that has to be taken into consideration when you think about this personalization, okay? So for you, adapting to that is going to be super important. And one way to adapt is when you're live streaming, record it. And then share that recording so that kids that have missed it or parents that have missed it can watch it as well. Okay. The other thing is, inviting your parents on board. Parents, here's my lesson that I'm planning on doing this week. Here's where I could really use your help. I invite you to watch this live stream with us. Join us in this, okay? It's really good to grow your community that way, and invite your parents in to be a part of that community is going to really help, because then they can support and provide that physical presence that you can't at this point. When you start your presentations, it's going to be important in this digital space to engage with familiarity and routines. So if you started your classes with, like say songs or, weather or, some sort of greeting, keep those routines that you can. Think about your routines and try and keep them, or adapt those routines to the digital spaces in ways that you can. You are all amazing, creative teachers. This is just, I'm inviting you to think a little bit differently about the space. It's not completely alien, but there are ways to kind of rethink things and adjust and tweak things so that it's familiar to your kids especially, but it's also going to give you some peace of mind too. All right, this first week, when you go online, please take the pressure off of yourselves that your kids have to continue with content. The number one thing that's going to help you continue with content is to create and reestablish that community again. So for this first week, I want you to focus on connections and connecting. get to know your kids from this digital space. It's going to be different, but at the same time, invite your kids to get them to know you in this digital space. A really popular thing that's going on right now with professors that have been in the space for a couple weeks now is that they're sharing pauses where they share their pets online, and it's like a pet break. Or, you can share, photos or, maybe your favorite thing online. You could even have like a show and tell. Tell us about, your favorite thing that you have at home that you want to share. It's all about reestablishing those relationships again with your kids and figuring out creative ways to connect. I want to end this with saying, you are amazing. You are doing things in the middle of a pandemic and asked to teach in a completely different way. You'll be okay. Whatever you do is going to be wonderful, wonderful. So please don't think that this is going to be perfect. In fact, in the digital space, imperfect is human, and imperfect helps you connect. I remember I did a webinar and my dog started barking at the neighbors, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for the barking to happen. And one of the teachers was like, no, that's actually, I like that. I like hearing your dog. Kids are going to want that too. So don't focus on perfect, focus on human, focus on loving, focus on sharing your heart, and focusing on just connecting with your kids. Now, to help you with that first week of connection, if you click on the link below the video, we have shared a community building bingo for you. So just take a look at all the suggestions we have and pick a couple. Pick one for the day, to focus on, or pick two, or use it however way you see fit. But hopefully that's going to help you. The other thing too is, Aubrey and I, Aubrey is helping me with these series of videos. It's just the two of us in our heads. But you are part of an amazing community. So please, I invite you to share other ideas to digitally connect with your students in the comments below. Please do that. And also, I invite you to look at people's comments and comment on their comments, because that's also how you can build community. Okay? Now, this is the first part. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about myth 2. And the day after, I'm going to talk about myth 3. And then in addition to that, if you subscribe to my channel, I'm also going to share some tech tips and tricks for how to kind of make this digital space a little bit more inviting for you. Okay, so please subscribe and share. Share with teachers if you think that this video is useful, because I know right now, more than ever, we do need to kind of collect as a global movement for humanity to know that things are going to be okay. We're working together. We're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You will be perfectly fine, but also know you are not alone. You've got people to help you. You've got us to help you. Okay? So in addition to the comments, realize we also have a Facebook group. You are free to join that Facebook group. We would love for you to join that Facebook group and ask all the questions that you need to about distance learning. If I don't know it, I will definitely try and find out for you, because I'm here to serve you and I'm here to make things better. Okay? So keep being awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye now.